Hi everyone, this is Sue Reynolds with the Student Achievement Institute, and we are beginning our webinar for the Makanikwa Schools Participating in Guiding All Kids. This is our 7th steering team training, and the focus of this training is year-end tasks. I want to check the audio and visual real quickly, and let me just see here. Amy, can you tell me, are you seeing the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I take it since you answered me, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight to the online system and just walk through some things here. So here we go. Okay, so I'm logged in as Demo Elementary School, and you, the good news is that you have now finished all of your foundations. So all of the foundations that are listed at the bottom of the Foundations tab are now finished, and you can open up these reports and be able to get any of them. The reports that we're most interested in now are your activity reports, because now you have all of your activities planned for next year. And the annual calendar, that's actually a report that you didn't need to create, that auto-generates from the activities that you've entered. And then finally, the final report is the master plan. That report ties everything together. It looks at your goals, and then under your goals it lists your activities and your root causes. So that's kind of a nice report because it ties all of your work together that you've been working on all year. So, okay. And then if I scroll back up, what we're going to do now is move to the next tab, which is the Counselor tab. So I'm going to go over to the Counselor tab, and you can see at the top of this tab our foundations are all listed. So you've got links to your foundations right on this tab. This is the tab where you'll be working for the rest of your work. So a lot of the submissions on this tab for this month are things that you already have. We're just documenting that you have them, so we're just having you upload them. These are all things that are required either for the Indiana Gold Star Award or the Ask a Ramp Award, with one exception. So we're just now checking to make sure that you've got all the little extra odds and ends done that ASCA and Indiana DOE want you to have as part of your portfolio. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of walk through these. The first one is a Gantt chart. This is optional, so you do not have to do this, but I just want to show you it's a really cool little tool. If I do enter, I can just list kind of the broad stroke activities that we're doing during the year rather than each individual activity. So you could say that you're doing group counseling, and maybe in your activities you specified each individual group session, but in this kind of broad stroke report, you're just going to say you do group counseling, and I'm going to check all months. And then let's say I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to put in another one, add another activity, and let's say that this is kindergarten roundup. And this is something that I'm going to do in April. So I've got that, and I'll save that. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the process tab so I can see the report. This is a time when you might want to start using most recent tab instead of clicking to the process tab. That's going to take me back straight to the counselor tab instead of the foundations tab. And when I click on this Gantt chart report, you can see now I have a Gantt chart, and the different months for the different years will be shaded in. So a lot of schools like to just kind of put in the big picture of their activities for the coming year, although if you need for grant purposes or whatever to specify what you're going to be doing in the next 4 years, you can do that as well. So, and again, this is a report that is that's optional. Okay, the next task is to enter a program budget. Notice the small print here that you also can submit a letter requesting funds if you don't have a formal budget. So instead of putting in a budget, you could just put in a memo to your principal asking for X number of funds for the coming year to support A, B, and C. So if you want to do a budget, this is another nice little tool where I can just say, this is the expenditure that I have. Let's say I'm going to put in some social emotional workbooks, and then I'm going to enter the line item that goes under, so maybe materials and supplies. I am ordering 30 of these at $10 each, and so that gives me $300. And you can see that my total appears here. I can add another budget item and then, fill out your whole budget and then save. And then when I go back to the process page, when I'm back at the process page, and you can see now in the budget, when I do the report, that the report is going to take all of your expenditures and put them under the right line items to build your budget out. So, and again, if you're applying for another grant to support your school counseling program, this is kind of a great little tool to use. I use this all the time when I'm putting together budgets for different activities, and then I just cut and paste it into my grant applications. So, okay. So, but for the purposes of your Gold Star and Ramp Awards, we need to either have a budget, if you have a formal budget, or a letter requesting funding. Okay, the next section is to enter lesson plans. This is a Gold Star requirement, and you can see that you're required to put in 3 academic lesson plans, 3 career, 3 social emotional. This is a typo. We'll take out the closing the gap, that we did that through activities instead of through here. And then also your group counseling activities. ASCA would like you to have lesson plans for them. Okay, so to enter a lesson plan, I'm just going to go to the enter icon. And there's 2 ways you can enter plans. One is that you can import plans that other schools have written. So I'm going to click on Tools. And let's say I'm looking for a career interest inventory. I just would put in career interest inventory, and then I can do a search. I can also narrow down that search lots of different ways. And as I can see here that there are 9 lesson plans in the ASA database that have been shared. I can scroll down and I can see that this first lesson plan, 2 schools imported it. The next lesson plan, 25 schools imported, and the next one, 7 schools imported. So let's say you've looked at and you really liked this lesson plan that Debbie Daly from Missinawa High School put in. You can just say import into my school's lesson plans, and everything in this lesson plan will import into your program. You can then go in and edit it. And also, as it imports, there will be a citation giving Debbie credit for developing the original lesson plan. So, okay, so that's one way that you can enter a lesson plan. I'm going to go back to the most recent tab and look at lesson plans again, to the enter. The other thing is that you can just create a lesson plan. So I'm going to click on that enter icon. And you would put your title of the lesson plan in here. So it might be study skills lesson, and then what grades you want to have that for, targeted student groups, could be all groups, or maybe you're just doing this lesson with boys or whoever. So I think for most of your lessons it probably would be all groups, but maybe not, especially for your gap lessons where you're trying to close a guidance gap. You might have a lesson that you're just doing with your low-income students or free and reduced lunch students. Okay, so now you're going to click the setting, and you'll notice that if you click group counseling, that changes the rest of the questions. So it adds a couple of questions in. So we're entering our delivery methods, and we can see right now the school doesn't have any delivery methods entered. So I'm going to say, okay, for next year I'm using the counselor delivery method, and I'm using the community delivery methods. I'll save that, and then go back to the most recent tab, and enter lesson plans. And lesson plans that I create, I'm going to enter. I've got the title in. When I clicked on the group counseling, that adjusted the data entry. And now I can say that this is a counselor delivery method. You're going to select the indicators for this lesson plan. These are the Indiana indicators. So you can just open that up and select. I find on this page, because there's a lot, I mean, as we've talked about before, Indiana has a ton of indicators. I find it easier just to use a Control F and then just put in the word that I'm looking for, and I can see there's only one indicator that has the word study habits or study skills in it. So it just gives you a way to kind of narrow down the indicators as you're trying to figure out which ones connect with your lesson plan. Okay, lesson plan type, academic, career, social, and emotional. This is really important because remember that schools are required to put in 3 academic, 3 career, and 3 social emotional at a minimum. Then the group facilitator, this is a question that only appears if it's a counseling activity. And that's because one of ASCA's requirements is that you identify who's going to facilitate your group counseling activities. Number of students, that also only appears for group counseling. And again, an ASCA requirement is that you say how many students there are in the group counseling lesson. Summary, I would not write books and books and books here. We just want this to be kind of a clear description of what this lesson is all about, so that if somebody who was not familiar at all with the lessons read it, they would know what you were trying to do. And then the next one is also, this question only appears for group counseling. You're saying that you're verifying that in this summary, you have talked about the focus of the group. That's, again, an ASCA requirement that for your group counseling lesson plans, the description needs to talk about what is the focus of the group. You're talking about the time required, so this takes, you know, whatever it is, 60 minutes or 1 hour or whatever, or you could write that as class periods. The procedure, and again, I like to write this just like a cookie recipe. Again, if you're not in your school next year for some reason, or if some other counselor is reading your lessons, it's really helpful to just say, okay, number 1, period, do this. Number 2, period, do that. Number 3, period, do that. The evaluation, you're talking about how you're going to assess whether or not the lesson brought about the changes in student choices that you're aiming for, or student knowledge. Resources needed, here you can describe the resource, and then you can put in a link to a website where people can download the resource. So a lot of my resources, I like to put them up as Google Docs, because then I can edit them and they're always up to date for whoever's downloading them. But you know, you don't have to do that. You can also upload a resource if there's a resource that goes with this lesson that you've developed. So you can just upload that. Citation. If you're using somebody else's materials, we definitely want to give them a citation. So make sure you read the information that we've given about how to do a citation and when citation should be used. If there's any collaborative partners, if this is a lesson that you're doing with your teacher advisors or with the community folks in partnership with that, we want to list them. And then any other additional information that you want to provide for counselors. Okay, when you get to the bottom of that, after all the required fields are filled in, this will become live, and you're just verifying my lesson plan is complete. And if you want to, you can check this statement that gives ASA permission to share your lesson plan as part of our database of lesson plans so that other counselors can have access to it. And then finally, if you are sharing, we're asking you to give us a contact person's name, and then you have the option of including from your school the person's contact email or phone. So again, if you want to help out, other counselors who may have questions about your lesson plan and how to replicate it, having that contact information would be nice. Okay, so we're putting those in, 10 lesson plans, and I'm going to go back to the most recent tab, and just a reminder on the lesson plans. We're putting in 3 academic, 3 career, 3 social emotional, 1 group counseling at least, and then this is a typo, we'll take out 1 closing the gap activity. Okay, here are the rubric items and for that section. And now I'm going to go down to the professional development section. On this, you're just uploading things that you probably already have. So professional development evidence, that could be a program from a conference that you've been to. It could be an email that verified that you registered for a conference. It could be the work you've done with Guiding All Kids. So feel free to just, if you've got one of our PowerPoint presentations or, one of our emails verifying a webinar or whatever, just upload that as proof that you have participated in professional development, which we all know you have. So we just need to be able to document that. And then the same thing with professional association membership evidence. That could be any kind of related professional association, ISCA, ASCA, IACAC, NACAC, any professional membership that you have. It could be a copy of your membership card. A lot of counselors like to upload a copy of one of their Ask a Counselor magazines that has their mailing label on the front of it, because the only way you can get Ask a Counselor is to be a member. So somehow you're showing us that you're part of a professional association. And again, these are requirements for ASCA and Gold Star. So we just need to get those up. Okay, program advocacy. These things are just really quick to do, most of them. The first thing we want to do is answer narrative questions. So I'm going to go in and click what that looks like. These are Ask a questions, and you can see there's quite a few. I'm going to open up the first one and just kind of give you an example. In yours, there will not be Latin words. That's just our demo school. So there's the prompt, please describe the counseling services provided by your school counseling program, and you just type those in. Again, I would not write books. I would write a very short answer, concise. Feel free to use bullets. If you're going to use bullets, use an asterisk for the bullet, and you can just list, our counseling services are group counseling, crisis counseling, individual brief counseling, whatever the services are that you provide. Okay, then I also wanted to show you on some of the activities, questions, we think we know what the answer is, so we've put in something for you to start with. One of them is vision statement. The question on vision statement is, how was your vision statement developed? And we think we know how you developed it. So to save you time, we just wrote a narrative in these questions that answered the question based on the work that you did with GAK. So again, I would skim these, make sure that what we think you did is actually what you did, and if it's not, then edit them as you need to. Feel free to take it out, everything that we wrote, and just write your own answers to those questions would be fine as well. Okay, a lot of counselors tell us that they divvy these questions up among their steering team members, and so that so that one person is just doing not all of these, but a smaller amount. Again, quick answers. This is just a verification that we need to do for ASCA. We actually have told ASCA that we believe all this information is in via your minutes that you've put in for your council meetings, but ASCA wants to see the narrative. So it's just something we need to do. Okay, so that is the narrative questions. On job description, my guess is you already have a job description, just upload it. If you don't have one, here's a sample job description. You are more than welcome to use our sample if you like it, or edit it and just get it the way you want it to be and then upload it. The next three are things that ASCA asks for. It is the Individual Counseling Management Agreement. And we've broken it into three parts to just make it go a little more quickly for you. So, and this is especially going to be helpful. I know most of your schools only have one counselor, but in the high school, this is going to make it a little easier for you with the two. So I'm going to click the enter. And in this section, I am just entering my school demographics, my student groups, how I do professional collaborations, my counselor availability, when counselors are available, if there's a career center, when the career center is open. This is a form that ASCA has that we've just put into our online system. So, okay. And again, your questions when you enter that will be blank. So you're doing that one time for the department. Then on the next section in part 2, this is individual management agreements. So I'm going to download those, and I'll open that up so we can see it. And in this section, each counselor, if there's only one in your school, then just one, but in the high school, there's going to be 2 of these. The counselor's name, the counselor's year, and then we're just answering these, each counselor is answering these questions for that individual counselor. And then you're scanning that, both documents for both counselors in the high school, into one document and then uploading it. Okay, so that's part 2. And then part 3 is the signature page. And again, I'm going to download that to show you this. And in the schools where there's just one counselor, the only signatures you need are just the principal and the one counselor. In the high school where there's more than one counselor, we're going to have the principal and both counselors sign off, and then this gets uploaded. Okay, so that is the management agreement from ASCA. The assurances statement, there were just a couple of things that we just needed you to tell us. Yes, we are doing these things. If I download that, we'll take a look at that. So for the assurances statements, we're just saying you're verifying that the school counseling program meets all rules and regulations, that the counselors are following the ASCA ethical standards. They're just things that we're asking you to tell us. On this one, that the school counseling program is coordinated by a licensed school counselor. That's an Indiana DOE requirement. If you are in a school where your service provider is a social worker, that's fine, but we do need somebody that is a licensed counselor to just verify that they've looked over your program and that it's being properly implemented. That's just a requirement in Indiana. So what most schools will do, if they have like an elementary school where there's a social worker implementing services at the elementary level, then the high school counselor or another counselor in another building who is a licensed school counselor will just be on record as, having looked to make sure that ethical standards are being followed, and just kind of quick overview of the program. So okay, that's that. Let's see, program brochure. My guess is, again, that you already have one. Just upload it. If not, this link will take you to a lot of samples of program brochures. It's actually a Google search that includes hundreds and hundreds of school counseling program brochures. Public relations evidence. This is just a requirement that somehow you have done something to promote your school counseling program. So for a lot of counselors, it's a presentation that you did at the beginning of the year to your incoming students or to your parents or to your teachers. Or maybe there was an article about your program in the newspaper, or just something on public relations, and just upload that. The next one is networking evidence. This is a requirement that you network with other counselors, and I know that at Mechanical you guys network with each other. You have had district-wide counselor meetings, and so all you need to do is just provide evidence of that, and that could just be a copy of an email announcing that that the counselors are going to meet on such and such a date and time at a certain location. Just somehow giving evidence. Another thing that you could do is if you have ever posted on Counselor Talk, you could download that and print that email and then upload that. Okay, and then the last requirement here is that ASCA requires you to present your school counseling program to your school board. That could be done a couple of ways. One way is to actually go to your a board meeting and I would present your focus goals and your activities and maybe your root causes. So focus goals, the root causes, and then your activities. You could also choose to present all of your priority goals, since those are all of the things that you're working on. So it could be priority goals, focus goals, root causes, and activities that you're presenting. So, okay, now another way to do this, besides having a face-to-face meeting with your school board, is to present your program to your school board via an email and to ask them for feedback. Or not, just to present it to them. So the best way, the easiest way we think to do that is in this link here. We've given you an opportunity to publish your portfolio online. That will give you a link that you can share with a public link that you can share with your school board, so they won't need a username or password to see the products of your work. So all you would do is click the publish button, and that will publish your portfolio. And then I can also, if I decide I want to take it down, I can click unpublish, and now it's not published. If you want to see what that would look like, you can view all of the published portfolios. I'll just open up one from Brooks School. So if I'm a board member at Brooks School, I am seeing this part of the page. If I'm a board member, I'm not seeing the tabs on the left. I'm only seeing the products and the explanation at the top. So and then as a board member, I can open up any of these reports and see it. So you would just send an email to your board saying, we've completed our redesigning school counseling process, or our guiding all kids process, and then provide this link at the top of this page, and that would allow a board member to go in and review your work. Okay, so that's that. That's the last step. And then the very final step is to let us know that you are finished with your portfolio, and you would like us to verify to the Indiana Department of Education that your portfolio meets all the requirements for Indiana Gold Star and RAMP. So what you need to do before you hit the submit button, what you need to do is to make sure that all of the status it says meets criteria. So you're going to check this page, check also the foundations page. Just make sure that everything says meets criteria. There's nothing that says needs revision. There's nothing that says submitted, but everything meets criteria. And then all you have to do is click submit, and that will give you, a regular submit button. And then what you want to do after that is to just verify. Just click this icon. We're just going to verify that your school's name appears on this list of 2018 first year RSC schools. Remember, the first year of GAK is a version of RSC in the first year of GAK. So, so your school's name should appear here. If it doesn't, there is some kind of issue, and contact us, and we'll work that out. But normally, it's that the school thinks they've submitted their portfolio to us, and for some reason they didn't do that. They just thought they did. So we just go back and help the school, figure out, yeah, you have to submit it first, and then we can approve it. So, okay. So again, and then in the small print here, it says when the status for this step meets criteria, all requirements for the Indiana Gold Star counseling and RAMP are met. So as soon as this says meets criteria, go in and check to make sure that you're on the list. The other thing that should happen is that at that point, an email from DOE will automatically come to you saying that you've been approved for Gold Star. So there's two ways really to check. One is through the email that comes to you from DOE, and the other is through monitoring that list. So, okay, I think that's it. The only other thing I want to mention is I want to talk about just 30 seconds worth next year and what's happening. So next year we have significantly fewer steering team meetings and significantly fewer council meetings. So in first semester, we will be, I wanted to be able to show you that, and I forgot that demo school is not a GAK school. So in first semester, you'll see in your system, when you click on community, there's going to be these foundations will be at the top of the community tab, and then there will be just be a section where we're developing the community-based programs. So we're going to recruit community organizations and help them implement activities to support your focus goals and priority goals. And then there's an action tab where we'll actually enter the community's activities. And then the same thing for TAP. At the top of the TAP tab, all of these foundations will appear. And then on TAP, there will be activities that happen in second semester as we get ready to implement TAP, not next year, but the year after. So we'll get ready to implement TAP second semester next year, and then we'll actually implement TAP the year after next. So that's coming up next year, but I think the exciting thing is, and the thing that I really wanted you to see, is that the foundations for the rest of these programs are finished. These are the foundations for all 5 delivery methods. So we won't come back to foundations again until it's time to renew your Gold Star, which will be 3 years from now. So, okay, I think that's it. As always, give us a call if you have questions. We know this is a very busy time of the year as you're trying to close out school. Notice that the deadlines for all of these year-end things are June 15th, and that gives us a little time to review everything so that our work can be completed and everything's finished with your Gold Star by the end of the 3rd week in June. So, okay, that sounds good. And again, call us if you have questions. Thank you so much, and good luck as you finish out your school year and finish out all the requirements for Gold Star and RAMP.